This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to your live safari of today. My name is Lauren. I do have Theo on camera, and there's two male giraffes. They're both quite young up ahead, practicing their clubbing, but unfortunately I do think they are walking off into the drainage. Let's see if we can get any views of them. Now, apparently it's quite a chilly morning here in Juma, but I am surprisingly warm today. However, it's about 12 degrees Celsius and 55 degrees Fahrenheit, so what a great start to your live safari. Cloudy, but I'm hoping that sun is going to burst through. So please don't forget to talk to us. That's what it's all about. That's why we do these safaris for you. So send in your questions or your comments using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on Twitch and the YouTube channel. But kids, if you're watching, please use your questions at wildearth.tv. So everyone, that's all the information you need. Get ready for your live safari through the African bush.
Good morning and welcome to this end of the Sunrise Safari. My name is James Hendry. And on camera today, it's an enormous pleasure to be back on board with Craig the Batman with his incredibly fast thumb. Now, we are on our way towards the northwestern corner of Juma, where apparently there are some lions headed. Whether or not we'll find them, well, that's anyone's guess. We've seen some hyenas already this morning and some elephants. No, we haven't seen elephants. We saw some elephants last night and now their tracks are everywhere here. Please talk to us. You can do that using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You can talk to us on the chat stream on Twitch or on YouTube. And if you are a youngster, you can also send us your questions to the email address kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. I don't think there are any other ways of sending us questions. There might be, but I do not know what they are. Thank you very much for your kind welcomes back. It's nice to be back in the bush. I have spent, 3 or 4 weeks in Johannesburg, and I swore when I left Johannesburg many years back that I would never spend another winter there. Well, I'm afraid I have been unable to fulfill that promise to myself, and so it is that I have chilblains on all of my digits because Johannesburg is ill-equipped to winter, nor are my lungs equipped to cope with the pollution of the high-felt winter. Anyway, it's lovely to be back here in the bush, where it's about 12 degrees or so. Right, we're going to go off towards the west and see if we can find some lions.
Isn't it great to have James back? Oh yes, we've got two hyenas here. Good morning. I haven't quite identified them yet because I saw them from off in the distance, but they're smelling. I imagine they're smelling around for A, leopards, or B, any sign of delicious food. But that is one full belly. I'm not sure food is needed here. I wonder if they're heading to the den. I know the den's already been checked this morning and no one was present, but I wonder if that's where they're heading. That would be great news for us, so we could actually spend some time at the den. I think that first full-bellied hyena was possibly in Tima. And the second one I've not got a good look at yet. Sorry about that. They're heading in the direction of the den, everyone, which is great news. That first belly's a lot full, well, much fuller than the second one. And of course, they've gone to the back of the car. We're just on the edge of quarantine, so I think I'm going to follow them. We need a good active den sighting. We've not had that in a while. I've not seen Ribbon at the den in a while, actually. And of course, I want to check up on all the cubbies. Just make sure that everybody is alive and well. Okay, I'm going to try and follow these hyenas for as long as I can, and hopefully they take me to the den.
Here we have got an elephant. For those of you who are unaware of what an elephant looks like, I was one of those people actually. Craig said to me, "Oh, there's an elephant," and I couldn't see it because of course they are remarkably well hidden, being so enormous. It's a young bull. He's quite angular, this young bull. It's almost as if he's a bit skinny, like he's lacking in nutrition. Much of a covering on him. Anyway, it's very nice to be in the presence of an elephant. There are two young bulls here. This guy gave us a bit of a look when we arrived. What seems to have calmed it down now. Although if you watch him carefully as he feeds, it's very non-committal feeding. Let's have a listen to him feeding. Hello, Aunt Christine. Your question, do elephants have spots? Now, Aunt Christine, I'm not sure if you are joking or if you are in severe need of an optometrist, or if perhaps you have been at the mushrooms. But elephants do not have spots, and if you can see spots, I would suggest that somewhere between your eye, your optic nerve, and the visual cortex of your brain, there is a small problem. If, however, you were joking, no, elephants do not have spots. They have got a lot of melanin in their skin, which gives them that very pleasant grey colour, but no spots. And interestingly, quite apart from Aunt Christine says it's none of the three things that I mentioned there that could be the reason she asked that question. She says that she's in fact just senile. Well, Aunt Christine, I guess awareness of the problem is a good step to perhaps fixing it. But talking about spots, what you'll find with human beings, of course, especially Caucasian human beings or pale-skinned human beings in sunny areas, is that they do develop spots over time. Exposed to the sun, you get those sun spots on the back of your hands or on your face. You get freckles from the sun. And that's because of this lack of melanin, whereas an elephant has got melanin in its skin, and its skin therefore does not react to the sun in the same way that pale faces do here in Africa specifically, or in the tropics, if you like. Just looking at the back of my hand now and seeing 2 or 3 little sun spots. Great shot there, Craig. Nice one. Now, Kirsten, who's directing today, says to me that elephants in Asia have got spots. They do have patches where it's much more likely to find that partial albinism, where you get patches of skin on an Asian elephant patches that don't have any melanin in them. And yes, those patches do develop spots. Thank you for that, my dear.
Good morning to all our viewers and welcome to and Beyond Gala this morning with a very, very beautiful sunrise and some clouds moving over. It's a nice cool morning, and my name is Yapi, and behind the camera we have Owen as always. We've started out this morning, we've heard some lions calling. It sounded not too far from where we were, and we're going to look for them this morning. So with this beautiful sunrise, we're standing in a clearing at the moment where would be the best spot to listen to any sound that will travel. There's we're on the riverbank of the Timbabati, and on our opposite side there's also quite a few clearings. We thought that the lions might be calling from somewhere around there, but we're not too sure. So at this point we're having a quick break and listening out to hear if there are any more calls. It sounded like only a few animals, and last night we left the rest of the pride quite far from here. Now it is possible with the cool evening that they might have moved quite far, so I think myself and Owen's going to continue and see if we can find any signs of them.
Well, we are having a good morning here with this crowned lapwing in Impala Plains, enjoying an excellent morning. It's cold. I'm not joking. It's really cold. But it's going to be a good morning. When the sun rises, it's going to get bright and clear. We're going to see all the things. My name's Mike. Behind the camera, we've got Gert again. He's back. And we are here at Ecotraining's Pridelands Conservancy. We're just sitting on this open plain to try and see if we can hear anything this morning. And we thought we might check in with our 2 crowned lapwing eggs to see how they're doing. And they are still, well, it's a great example of good camouflage. Look at that. The mother, very bright and colorful to distract any predator. Yesterday, or last time we saw them, 3 days ago, she sat on the eggs right in front of us, which was really cute. But there you can see she shifted the eggs again slightly, made them slightly a different position, which is actually good for us. Now we can see them much clearer, and you can really see how well camouflaged they are. Oh, I can't wait for these little chicks to hatch. They're going to be so fluffy. So cute. Not yet with those super orange bright colors. They'll still be very much the same color as the eggs, mottled and browns to blend in, and they won't move too much. They'll be very, very much reliant on the mother to bring them food. But they are precocial, meaning that they will be able to move around quite a lot. Midna, they do look like pebbles. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of these eggs on the ground. They have to be looking like the stones and the sticks and the grasses in order to not be eaten by pretty much anything that might come along. There's so many animals that'll eat these. Even a duiker, for example, that small antelope, in the winter time now when there's not much forage for them, if they occurred in these kind of open areas, which they don't, thank goodness, they would also eat eggs. Jackals will eat them, many kind of mongoose will eat them, snakes, of course, as well. I should say, of course. I mean, it's not of course. Not many people know. Some snakes do eat eggs. Got a very awesome snake called a rhombic egg eater, which is common around here. But yeah, it's awesome to see, and I'm glad to see that mother is still very vigilant. You see how she keeps turning and looking everywhere. As I said before, I don't actually know if this is the female. We just know that the female is generally much more protective of the nest, and she controls who sits and when. She will call the male and say, okay, it's your turn, and then he'll sit while she feeds, and then once she's finished feeding, she'll come back and relieve the male. Exactly. I agree with you completely. And as I said, precocial is just a fancy term for chicks that are able to move around. Not that they will move too much, but they are able to move around and look after themselves to a certain extent. Beautiful. Excellent.
I thought that we'd found something a little more interesting than we actually have here, but it's still quite cool. I thought that the elephants, in pulling up this rootstock, had perhaps disturbed a mapani bee or stingless bee's nest, and that's what was flying around the base there. You could just see a lot of insects flying around there. In actual fact, what it is the dung underneath that rootstock that is full of moisture, and it has attracted an enormous number of different kinds of flies. Now, I might be tempted to get out and have a look, but those elephants are still pretty close by, and so I'm not going to get out just yet. But there are lots of different kinds of flies, and they're flying around the dung, sitting on the rootstock, and also sitting on the dung, I suspect, largely for the moisture that it's offering. Obviously there's some nutrition there as well, but it's also because there is water, which is very short on the ground. Yes, GM, it is artistic, isn't it? The elephants have made a beautiful artwork here of Combretum woodstock atop dung pile. I imagine that you'd probably find a art collector, brainless person with too much money, who would probably buy that and put it in their living room. There is a hyena. Hello, hyena. I don't know which hyena this is from our clan. It's the third one we've seen today. It's heading in the general direction of the den, so I wonder if Lauren won't have some luck down there a little bit later. It would be nice if that hyena indicated a leopard for us to look at. That would be the best outcome of the sighting. Thank you, Chris Rogue. You say that's Luca the hyena. That is from our Juma clan. Thank you very much for that. I'm not going to follow off-road after him. He doesn't seem to be in a great rush. He might be smelling something, but I think he's probably just going to carry on going. I'll just quickly check back here because he's going towards a termite mound. Let's see that there isn't something on the termite mound with spots and a golden pelage. No, he's walked straight past it. It's just in there. You can see the mound that I was thinking of. Right, on we go. I think we'll continue around towards the north and then head down the western boundary and see if we can pick up those lion tracks. Our elephants have gone off down into the bush there. I'll just show you an elephant's buttocks before we carry on. How's that? Usable? I don't want to go crashing in there after them. I feel that would be unfair. I've parked right close to this artwork now, and I don't think the elephant's going to see me, so I'm just going to pop out here. Craig, if they come barreling down this way, you will let me know, will you? Thanks. You know, they're all flies. They're not mapani bees. They're a very strange kind of... I think that there must have been a nest, perhaps, on this rootstock somewhere. And it would have been in here somewhere, and might still be in a cavity in the middle of this rootstock. Cool. Alright, well, I've now destroyed that gorgeous artwork. We'll move on from here. Ready, Craig? Good. Lauren apparently has managed to find some more elephant artworks.
Just looking at the mess the elephants have made to this poor thorn, and if you can see here, Theo, it's damp here. What they've done is they've completely stripped the cambium layer, so they've taken off the outer bark of this tree, which is dead anyway. They want the inner living tissue, which is actually very moist, and they've stripped this. You see the red? The red is the sort of from the tannins, and inside here's a cambium layer. So there's two separate layers of tissue running up and down the tree always. One is taking water from the roots up to the leaves. The other is taking nutrients from the leaves, like the sugars that have been made from photosynthesis, and sending it down to the roots. So there's a constant pathway, and that's what the elephants want. That's the delicious part of the tree that they've torn off, strip-barked it all. And I've just been on the road moving branches. Sorry, my game drive radio is going off. All of this. Now it does look very destructive, and essentially it is, but it is good for the ecosystem. If an ecosystem wasn't disrupted and there wasn't damage and there wasn't ecosystem engineers, then, well, lots of organisms would struggle to get access to the nutrients that come from these trees. So that's very important that elephants do that, but they have knocked over our Juma Research Camp sign, which is a huge cement block, and it used to stand like this, now it's like this. They've pulled out all of the... This one's been completely uprooted. Look at that. Can you believe it? There's also nutrients in the roots.
Any patrolling vehicles on tow truck?
Sorry, the game drive's very busy this morning. Alan, I don't believe any trees are poisonous to elephants. So they'll have their preferred trees for sure. But I don't believe that there's any ones that are poisonous as such that I know of. And the fallen trees essentially provide browse for ground level smaller herbivores. So you can see this used to stand at quite a height, but now it's on the ground. So the browse from those trees will be available. I mean, in winter it's slightly different, but it also creates a micro habitat for, well, breeding, shelter, for ground creatures such as rodents, reptiles, small mammals, especially when the grass grows again in summer. And nutrients from these trees will therefore be recycled back into the soil. And this is a sort of circle of life out here. Nutrients must get back into the soil to be recycled. And fruit, any trees that contain fruit, which is not here, I'm afraid, the ground level mammals won't have access to that. It will only really be birds and those that can climb. So although it does look like a mess, it is a mess. I've been moving trees all morning. It is actually essential for the ecosystem. So elephants are ecosystem engineers. You also get the likes of the giant mole rat in Ethiopia, the main prey species of the Ethiopian wolf. They're also ecosystem engineers, but in a completely different way. So they dig, they tunnel, they make a network of burrows across the entire landscape, and they end up creating mounds. And what they do is they're moving parts of soil to another area, and this is helping in the nutrient recycling. It's moving nutrients from one area to the other. It's also very messy looking, but they're stirring up the soil. They're moving vegetation from one place to another, and that's actually really important for the Bali Mountains ecosystem in Ethiopia. So there's lots of different sort of species that can be ecosystem engineers, and here the elephants are definitely classified as that. Oh my goodness, there's just mess everywhere. Okay, well maybe if I bumble on forward, we'll actually find the culprits behind all of this mess.
So we've just come across two kudus. They're standing out in the clearing. You can see some nice sunlight. And as we approach them, we thought that they might move off, but now it looks like both of them have stopped. I think that one's just enjoying a little bit of the sunlight. But if you look closely and you look at the ears, you see the one in the front right out in the sunlight is standing dead still. It's looking around and the ears are up. The one at the back's just stopped as well. And if you look in front of it, you see it looks like quite a dense section that they might be walking into. So I think these two are just stopping, they're scanning the area, they're making sure that it's safe towards where they're going. Now with those lions calling earlier, we heard them in the direction that these two kudus are facing. So, and I'm sure these kudus would have heard them. So to make sure that there's no danger here, they have to check very, very carefully, listen out, see if they pick up on anything. And if they find it safe, like it looks like these two have, now they're moving into the denser area. You just see the one still feeding there on a, I'm not sure exactly what that is. Christy, that might be it. Yeah, kudus are quite smart that way. They often let the other ones move in first and then let them take all the heat, and then the one hangs back, and if there's any danger, that one will be able to run back towards the riverbed in this case, I'd say. But have a look at that kudu sticking her face deep into that bush. Saw she was folding back her ears. And just a quick little nibble. But now that's a good question. What is the difference between a kudu and a nyala? First of all, I'd say the size. Like this kudu, for instance, you can see we can hardly see her now and she's disappeared, but she is a lot bigger than the nyala. She's got longer legs, her neck slightly longer. And then the other difference is also the color. The kudu is a slightly more gray color, like a dull gray color, which helps them blend in, especially in the shade like this one, as you can basically just see the ears moving and the lips, some white markings on the lips. And that's basically what I'm seeing at this point. You can see she's eating very, very quickly. The other thing with with kudu and nyala, I'd say the main difference is size and then the color as well. The female nyala is more of a ochre brown color, where the males tend to be quite dark, with looks like almost like they have yellow socks on. The lower part of the legs are almost the color of the grass with the sunlight on it that we see at the moment. The male kudu, the only difference between that and the female is the size of the neck, and then the male's got horns, of course, which makes it quite a stark difference. But in terms of color, it's pretty much the same as the female. You can see this kudu looks a little bit disorientated now. I think she's realized that her friends moved off. And looks like she's heading into the same direction. Right, I think we'll leave these two kudu and then we are going to continue to see if we can find any signs of those lions.
It's not the culprit behind the mess out here, but it's still a very large mammal. We have a male giraffe, a very, very dark giraffe, which means a dominant male. The color of the patches relates directly to dominance, status in male giraffes. And one thing I've noticed the past few days, we're seeing a lot of giraffes, and some of their skin is not looking good. Craig and I saw one yesterday, but it wasn't very obliging for the camera. Had lots of patches on its skin. It almost looked like mange. I can't see what this patch is, I'm afraid, but the papillomavirus, sometimes called PV, is very closely related to herpes, and it's actually quite prevalent in giraffes. Now, the virus is transmitted differently across different species, but giraffes seem to be quite heavily affected by it. And it starts with a wart on the skin of giraffe, and this wart can actually be very, very irritating. And the giraffe, you tend to see them rubbing it against trees. But they'll use trees and any sort of vegetation around where they can rub this itchy wart. This then causes the wart to rupture. And a ruptured wart can get very, very easily infected. So the sort of lesion that'll be produced from this becomes quite progressive in giraffes, apparently, and it is based on the individual's immune system. So if you've got a giraffe in its prime who's very, very healthy, possibly in summer where there's lots of food around, it will recover better, but it's said to be quite progressive. And this wart that has since been ruptured and infected can actually turn into a very specific type of cancer called sarcoid, and it hardens. And it's really prevalent in giraffes. And there's one theory that says the sort of transmission of PV from giraffe to giraffe is possibly from the constant grooming of the oxpeckers. It spreads it from giraffe to giraffe. Now, it's said to sort of do this via its beak. So the oxpecker passes the virus on via its beak. So it's not a disease, but it really does impact giraffes. I'm not referring to all species, but for giraffes it can be quite severe. Fuzzy, you're saying the virus happens in cattle too? Yes, I can believe it does. It's quite prevalent in the animal kingdom, even in humans. We're all aware of herpes, but giraffes just seem to be quite severely impacted by it. And I've seen some giraffes up in the Masai Mara with wart upon wart upon wart, hardened, broken open, and it can be, well, really limiting for that giraffe if it spreads quite severely, and it can impact the immune system. So I wonder if that's what I'm seeing. Maybe not necessarily on this individual, on this boy, but I'm seeing it quite a lot when they've got hardened skin all across their body. Okay, this is a virus, so it's not a disease that I'm actually referring to at this point in time. But as for diseases, I'm actually not sure what giraffes are particularly prone to. I would need to research that further. I just know that they're really affected by the papillomavirus that's spread by the oxpeckers, or said to be spread by the oxpeckers. But as for diseases, I'm actually not sure. I will check that out for you and see what we can come up with. Because in the last 15 years, populations of giraffes in general have declined by about 40%. Now, if you think about that, that's almost half. So giraffes are listed as vulnerable, but on the IUCN website, it just classifies giraffe as one species, but there's actually 4 separate species of giraffe. Now, I hope I get this right. You've got the southern giraffe, the Maasai giraffe, the northern giraffe, and the reticulated giraffe. Confirmed by DNA testing that they are separate species and they have not crossbred or exchanged genetic material in millions of years. So I will research that further for you. I believe there's a giraffe skin disease, and that can also cause sort of I hate this word, but crusty lesions on the legs of giraffes. Maasai giraffes in particular is quite prominent. I think that was what I also used to see up in the Masai Mara. So there's one answer to your question, giraffe skin disease. And it's really visible. You can see it when giraffes are passing. This boy looks relatively healthy. Older boys will be scarred. They will have patches of hair loss. That's normal, but it's when you see these large sort of accumulation of hardened lesions that's slightly worrying, and it can affect them. When they get infected themselves, it will completely impact that immune system. This giraffe's been very obliging. I've been struggling to get giraffes on camera recently. Some of you are discussing the species of giraffes, I think. Was that correct, Kirsten? I believe the recent paper classifies the giraffe species as 4. And I think I can find this paper for you. Maybe in a little bit later I can. I know there's subspecies. Remember, subspecies are different from species. But I believe the recent paper that I will try my best to find for you confirmed the actual species genetically at 4. But I will confirm that. Indigo Girl, you're saying it's confirmed at 4. Yes, I think that's right. It's a recent paper, a very recent paper, and I will try and find it for you because it's really, really interesting, and it confirms it at now there's 4, and I'm sure it's the ones that I just mentioned. But there has been a lot of debate over it. And as I said, IUCN, that website, that great tool that you can use to assess populations, they still have giraffe as just one species, i.e. giraffe, and that's not the case. So there's a lot of updating sort of information when it comes to species of giraffes. And I think there's somewhere between 7 and 9 subspecies. Now, subspecies are when you see the Latin names with 3 parts to it. So when you look at an animal's Latin name, it actually tells you quite a lot of information. And for example, the giraffe is Giraffe camelopardalis. And what this means is camel-like leopard. Yes. So it has a meaning, but it also tells you a lot. If there's 2 Latin names, that means it's a species. If there's 3, it's a subspecies. So that the subspecies of giraffe would be Giraffe camelopardalis, blah, 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 something else. And subspecies arise when the species are separated by geographical location. So it's very, very similar genetically, but due to sort of being geographically isolated permanently, then a subspecies arrives. And they call this the Latin trinomial. So when you have Giraffe camelopardus and then that extra little Latin word, that's the Latin trinomial. And when you see that, you know immediately that it's a subspecies. What a wonderful morning sighting of this giraffe. So we're going to continue bumbling south and see what else we can find.
We're just trying to get a bird upon camera. Can you see it there at the top of the tree there, Craig? Yes, there it is. It is a very small one. Ooh! You know what that is? That's very special. Ha! Anybody want to have a guess? No, there's a woodpecker there, but anybody want to guess what the other little chap was? He's still there, he's at the bottom. Just moving back up towards the top. This is a beautiful tree full of birds. There's a drongo there, there's a woodpecker, and then there's our friend at the top. Anybody wish to hazard a guess? That's really very cool. don't know why I didn't get that, but I heard it through Craig's comms. Just try that again, Kirsten. Yeah, I can hear it through Craig's earpiece. It is indeed a yellow-bellied eremomola. But I don't know, I can't hear who has told me that. Jonathan, well done. A yellow-bellied eremomola. Now, many of you, of course, keep yourselves a bird list. And I doubt many of you have got the yellow-bellied eremomola on it. It's a relatively common resident, but we very seldom see it. What's gone on with my radio? Why it's decided to cease working. Anyway, that's really, really nice. A yellow-bellied eremomola. The Game Drive's radio is working in my ear, so I don't know why it is that my dearly beloved has... Oh, there we go. I've got her back now. And there's another bird in here, Craig. It's just landed right on the ground. Lisa, it is. It's a mouthful for of a name for a bird, especially such a small bird. An eremomola. There it goes. Now, this is the other bird that I thought it was initially. That is the long-billed crombeck. And now it's flown off. There are a lot of birds around here. I suspect there'll be a southern black tit somewhere leading the bird party. There's a drongo sitting on that branch there. So many of you saying that you haven't seen the yellow-bellied eremomola before. Yep. Well, I think I'll just sit here and see if there are any other interesting species around.
We have managed to find a pride of 5 lionesses, I think, including Lagatha, our favorite. I think that's Lagatha now, just coming onto the road. Oh, spectacular. This is amazing. They came in somewhere from the western part of the reserve, northwestern part, and they're moving through. They've eaten, they've got pink on their faces, and some of them have got quite full bellies, so they've caught something and eaten it this morning. I don't know what, it must have been something small because they don't all look full, but wow, incredible to see. We're going to try and see if we can follow them. They're moving into quite a tricky area. It's very thick and bushy. Oh, look, that young lioness, which I think is Lagatha, is doing a lot of socializing. She's rubbing her body all over them. She's been away from them for a while now. I think this is the pride that she must have originated with. It's good to see that she's back with them. I'm just going to stop here because they're still hunting. You see, they're still stopping frequently and listening. Look how they move through the grass, sleek, powerful. I'm so glad to see that there are other lions moving onto pride lands, or they've moved a bit further into the block now. But you can see how their ears are still pricked up and forward. If they keep going the way they're going, they might end up coming out at Indlovu Dam, right near the eco-training camp there. Let's see if we can follow them a bit more. It's going to be very tricky. There's lots of branches and shrubs. We'll see what we can do to try and follow them. It'll be a great thing to see what they get up to this morning. They have eaten a little bit. Let's hope that they can eat a little bit more. Maybe catch something else. There are lots of impalas near our waterhole. All right. Let's see what we can do. As you see, Pridelands has had a lot of time without elephants, so it's thick at the moment. It's very thick and very difficult to get through. What I'm actually going to do is try and go around the block. So we're going to lose them for a little while, but we'll try and see if we can find them again. There's another vehicle helping us here. So I'm just going to let him know that, yeah, they've gone in there, that we're going to go around to try and see if we can catch them on the other side. How exciting is this? We're just saying now, I think Gert's brought the lion luck, because we hadn't seen a lion, a pride of lions, for a couple of weeks now on Prideland. So hopefully we're going to get around this block and find them again.
Who is the cameraman? We have left our little bird party, having seen a black-backed puffback, and not found anything else except what I'm going to show you now, which is another bird, a very pretty bird, and I feel, although they're as common as you like, it is very pleasant to look at them, especially as they turn their backs to the rising sun. Can you see it there, Craig? It's just at the edge of this. Yeah, you're in the middle of frame there, I think. There we are. Oh, James Richard, you know the nemeses that trouble my life, and of course my greatest nemesis on the bird front is the green-winged Pytilia. I shall attempt to find you a green-winged Pytilia, James, but as you well know, it may well result in seasickness, because the camera will be forced to leap around and jerk about in some thick bush. But I will try and find you a green-winged Pytilia. That is the lilac-breasted roller, everyone. We are now heading towards the eastern side, or central eastern side of Djuma. MJ, you say you're down for birding? Well, if I find any interesting birds today, I shall stop for them without doubt. What I'm going to tell you now is that I don't know if I'm going to be quiet for 3 seconds, 5 seconds. You may just be able to hear the sort of like a flock of birds calling. Now, I actually thought that was a flock of birds, but it isn't. It is the power line just above us, heading towards Cheetah Plains. I was deeply confused for a second because I couldn't figure out what bird it was. It's not a bird. We do need power on these reserves, and although that's not something I'd normally point out, well, there's no point in hiding from the truth, right? Continue along the southern boundary here. See if anything pops up.
We've just arrived at the site of the buffalo carcass, and there's still a hooded vulture up here. I was just repositioning because I think I'm blocking the way for another vehicle. I have a tendency to park in the middle of the road and forget that other people need to drive past. Why this hooded vulture is still here, I do not know. Yes, they wait to ride the thermals. They have a very energy efficient way of riding, but why it's still hanging around the buffalo carcass, I do not know. The hooded ones are the smaller vultures, but sometimes I think the bravest. I think this might be a juvenile. Just want to wait till it turns to his side so I can see his little hood. The smell is still awful, just in case anyone's wondering. It's terrible. So the immature the immature hooded vultures have a really brown hood. It almost looks like they've put a hoodie on or a jumper on or whatever you want. Yeah, this isn't immature, this is a young one. Oh, scratch. How sweet, a young hooded vulture. And you can see in all vultures, they've got that ruff round the neck. It looks like it's wearing a scarf. And this one also looks like it's wearing a hood too. So we're going to continue our search along the southern boundary.
So these lionesses are now looking towards Ndlovu Dam and our camp. I think there's still a little bit of activity around the camp. You see those lioness looking forward. There we've told the students to please get in their tents so these lions can come and drink at the waterhole without being disturbed. The rest of the lions have actually moved past now and actually heading towards the waterhole. It's going to be amazing if we can get to see them drinking at this waterhole. It'll be the first time that we've had lions, at least for me, Gert, at the waterhole for a long time, especially during the day. They've hunted successfully this morning or last night. They've got full bellies. It's fantastic to see that they are doing well, and I'm glad to see Lagatha's with them as well. She's also got a bit of a belly. She looks like she's eaten. Oh, I'm so chuffed. This is one of the larger lionesses. She's very, very vigilant. You see how she's looking around. The others are actually heading to the waterhole now. They'll go and drink, and they'll have a good wash probably after drinking. They'll lie down somewhere nearby and clean their faces. You can see the dark on this lioness's face is a bit of leftover dried blood. Oh, look at that. Just coming right in front of our vehicle. Pride Lands is living up to its name once again. Awful shoulders. There's Lagatha, I think, at the back there. There you go. See that young lioness at the back there? Very pale in colour. I'm pretty sure that's Lagatha. There are two younger lionesses in this group. There's another lioness crossing at the back. All with full bellies. Look at the power. This lioness are walking on the road. You can really see her shoulder blades slicing, lit up so nicely by that sunlight as it rises, and her powerful back legs. She is a fierce, fierce huntress. Right, I'm going to try and reposition us as they come down to the water, and hopefully we can have a look at them as they drink. This is absolutely amazing. Right, so whilst we make a move, let's hope everyone in the camp stays quiet.
So we are still looking for those lions, and at this point we have had tracks and then we've lost the tracks, but now we've just heard them calling in a direction that we're heading towards. It sounds like they called somewhere around the big clearings further away from the Timbavati riverbed. The tracks we had earlier was only tracks of what looked like one female with tiny youngsters, and then we also had tracks of two males. So the trackers have just told me that they heard baboons calling, and we're going to head there to see if we might get lucky with any further signs there. It sounds like these lions were moving from where we heard them earlier to the last call we heard, and I'm pretty sure with this weather they'll be active for a little while longer. Now the area that we're moving into, this is an area where a lot of general game species, the wildebeest, the zebra, the impala, they spend their night in this area. And I think those lions, when we saw them last night, they looked like they needed to hunt. It's a lot of mouths to feed. It's a big pride at the moment. And they were probably going to look for a large herbivore. As you will notice from here on, things are starting to open up. And this would be the perfect spot for animals like the lion to call from. The sound will travel further that way. For a male advertising himself, that will be ideal, because it, like all the other lions that might be nearby, to hear that they need to stay away, or either if it's lions that's part of the pride, that he moves with, it will mean that they know where he is. So we're going to take it slowly along this road from here, and FJ, which months are at winter in South Africa? We are pretty much coming towards the end of our winter now. And in the bushveld, that means our dry season, basically. We don't have any rain during this season. Our rains usually start around October, and it might last up until April. And with the peaks being around December, January, and February. But this is winter here. At the moment, the rest of South Africa further down southwest is covered in snow. And over here, it's still nice and warm. But so winter, normally I'd say from about May up until the end of August. And then from there spring, and then summertime would be anything from October onwards up until March. Wintertime in this particular part is also the time of the year when the predators eat very well. They're in good condition, and hopefully if we get to find those lions this morning, you might get to see that. And summertime often they struggle a little bit more. But we are currently moving back. Oh, a nice big male giraffe. So I can just see some birds on this giraffe. Ooh, and one has gone down right to the back end of this giraffe. You see the giraffe's licking off his lips. The bird seems to be capitalizing on that. And you can see another one a little bit further down its flank towards the front leg or the front shoulder area. You can hear some birds calling off towards the right, and you can see the giraffe's ears was just focused on that. He's standing dead still at the moment and staring around. It looks like he's just checking out the area. I think this giraffe might be looking for some of the others that might be in this area. But I think we'll leave him for now as he moves closer towards the riverbed.
Ines is walking along the top of the ridge, wanting to come down to the water. Gorgeous. Hopefully she comes down. There's two lions there now. See how they're looking down towards the water. So there are still people in our camp. Students have arrived at the camp. And they are a little nervous, but one of them was drinking a moment ago, so they will come down. They often drink after hunting. Now they've moved all the way from near Leopard Dam down towards here in Ndlovu Dam, and you can see one of them's got, well, they've both got food in their bellies, not full, but enough to keep them going for a little while, or she's going to come down. There's Lagatha. I'm pretty sure that's Lagatha. She looks a bit smaller. From this distance it's difficult to tell, but she definitely looks smaller than the other lions. Steph, I think Lagatha's probably somewhere around 2 years old. She's quite young. She hasn't quite got the full bulk and size of an adult. She's got a few spots on her legs and things, so she's definitely quite young. Generally those spots get lighter and lighter with age, but she's still small, so I think she's probably about 2. That's why she's maybe was chased off. I think she's just before she's getting towards breeding age. I think that's maybe why she was moved out of the pride. Maybe bigger males came along and took over the pride, and she was too young maybe to mate, and so she was chased off until she's at mating age, because she might be offspring from a different line, and so just pushed off by the male. See how they're drinking just behind a little thicket there, just to be a little bit more secretive. It's a little pile of roots there keeping the earth together, and she's found a little hollow to drink from. See, the ears are constantly scanning back and forth. See how they sit at the top of the dam as well and just listen to whatever might be around. There's lots of animals that come around here. Warthogs, impalas, nyala, even the buffaloes. I don't know if these lionesses would take on a buffalo. They're very, very... there's another lioness just at the top. I don't know if you can see just at the top there by that knobthorn, just with her head peeking up. You see that big knobthorn in the distance? That's really cool. Just trying to see, this one also could be Lagatha. It's so difficult to tell from this distance. We're on the other side of the dam. But if she's got remember, a very pale coloration, and then these two markings on the back of her neck from, it looks like maybe bite marks or a scratch or something, puncture wound. Look at all these lionesses are now up and looking actually towards behind our vehicle. And I heard a couple of alarm calls. I wonder if there's not something else walking somewhere along the ridge behind us. Hosanna fan, the lions make you feel relaxed. It's good to have predators like this around the camps. It makes me feel more alive. It makes me feel like, you know, the area around the camp is full of the things that they want, lots of animals that are relaxed and calm. So that's a good thing. It means that, you know, life is happening around us. I like it. Hosanna fan, it makes me feel like the bush is alive. Look at that. Oh, that's so spectacular. You see there's a bit of a mist in the air. It was very cold this morning, and we're expecting heavy winds later, but for now we're sort of in the eye of a storm. And it's very, very calm. It's very, very misty. Oh, and they're starting to move off now, back where they came. Maybe just to see that other lioness who's a bit nervous to come over, which might well be Lagatha. I'm not sure yet which one's Lagatha at this distance. There's two young lionesses. Could be the one walking behind these two large ones. Could be that one who looks a little bit nervous to come over the bank. Oh man, this is so awesome. So the older lionesses have more experience and they look much more relaxed and calm. See those two there rubbing themselves. David, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This morning has worked out well for Gert and I. It's just, sometimes you think the bush kind of rewards you for many days of sort of hard work out there. You're looking for the animals, and just every now and again it just works out perfectly for you. I mean, that backlight with these lions sunning themselves, looking relaxed at this dam. Oh. There's one lioness going down, probably to rest in the shade as it gets warmer, away from our eyes. There's one of the young lionesses which has got blood on its face. And there's what I think is Lagatha on the left of the screen. So happy to see that she's managed to find the pride. It's been a while. I mean, we've seen her tracks up and down Pride Lands by herself. There she goes. Bye-bye. And we were getting a bit worried because yesterday when Seb and I saw her, she looked kind of slender, like she hadn't eaten in a few days. But now it looks like she's eaten, and she's hopefully going to stick around with this pride, and the pride is hopefully going to stick around. But there they disappear. Beautiful.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to and Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. My name is Jared, and we're here at a very cold morning. We've got Marcel behind the camera, and it's one of those mornings, because it's cold, it looks like it wants to rain, that everything just keeps on hiding. And we've managed to come into an open area that is filled with quite a few different species. So I think I'm going to stick around here for a bit. So we've got a smallish herd of wildebeest, which you can see right now. It looks like a breeding herd. There's a couple of smaller calves within the center. And then as we go off to the left, we've got 3 or 4 zebra. Very common to see wildebeest and zebra together. And then as we pan a little bit more over to the left, we've got a group of impala, 1 male and quite a big harem of females. And all those females are nice and tightly grouped up together, which is very typical on a day like today, because it's very windy, with it being grey clouds in the air. It kind of dampens their eyesight a bit, and so everyone's a little bit edgy and nervous today. And so you'll find with impala, who are pretty much on the menu for everyone, they're going to be the most nervous, and that's why you see most of the females nicely tight together. And there is a couple more to the right, and they are slowly moving to right. You've got one of the males in the front. We are pretty much finished with the rutting season, so it is a bit of a surprise to only have 1 male with this group of females. He might just be a territorial male who's in this area and happened to just come across these females. There's also a good area for birds, and I'm surprised even with the wind at the moment that we've got some birds in this open area. There's some African stonechats. If we pan a little bit more to the right, Marcel, between the wildebeest and the impala, we've got a starling over there. Alright, so for those of you who watched yesterday, you would have seen Dewald having a marvelous day with the cheetah and cubs, and we know that everyone is dying to know what happened, and things got a little bit exciting. So the 2 males were fighting with the female who had the 2 youngsters, and everyone was all a little bit worried, and even we were a little bit concerned that the cubs were going to be killed by the males, which does happen. Infanticide with cubs is a common occurrence, and particularly when it's from males that aren't the fathers of the cubs. And then not long after that, 2 lions' nesses and a male lion came running over because they heard all the commotion. But fortunately, everyone, you can be happy. It's a good day because all those cubs seem to be fine. Unfortunately, we are a little bit far away from that area. We did want to go check up on them today, but with the promise of rain in the skies, we didn't want to drive all the way there. But if it seems like it's going to settle, we will go check up on them again today. But as far as we know from last night, the female and her 2 cubs went off into a completely different direction to the 2 males. The males were seen late last night moving away from that area, as well as the lions. So cubs are all safe, mother's safe. And I think the only ones that have to really worry today are the zebra, wildebeest and impala, because this is the perfect hunting weather for predators. Good wind with the grey skies, it's just easier for them to be able to stalk. So I'm going to circle this area and see if there's any predators around here. This really seems to be the only area that I've managed to find any animals, so hopefully that means there's some larger animals around.
From what is a distinctly cold morning out here at Swala Kalahari. I am freezing my nads off. It is ice cold out here. There is a breeze blowing, not a strong breeze, but it is blowing nonetheless, and the temperature has just been going down and down and down the whole night. I did not expect this, and that was a schoolboy error. I didn't check the weather forecast, you know, but anyway, it is fantastic having you with David on camera and myself, Dylan. It's going to be a great day out here. I already know it. I have got something so exciting for you this morning. I don't know if we're going to get them, but remember we were looking for those goshawks yesterday? Well, we kind of like narrowed that search area down now, and I'm hoping we're going to get the nest for you this morning. I don't know. Rebecca, our meerkat habituator, she located the rock star meerkats again yesterday, which I was very, very pleased about. She did a brilliant job doing that. So she got them yesterday morning after the drive was closed. But then what happened yesterday afternoon, late yesterday afternoon, she actually got a whole interaction between one of these goshawks and the meerkat colony, the meerkat group, the rock stars. She couldn't see that they actually caught anyone, or that the goshawk caught them, so I don't think there was any issues there, but that group did split and she can't find them yet again, but she is working on that. But what it means, this is what it means, is that they are hunting in a very, very specific area. Remember, those of you process of building the nest, but be that as it may, there is a nest to be found, and I think we need to go look for it, and it's going to be super cool, because if we can find that nest, then David and I, we can start doing these little like nest stakeouts, and then you're going to see some cool action, because you'll get one of the birds on the nest and the other one will start bringing food items back to the nest, and that could be anything. So let's see what's out there. I think it's going to be an exciting time ahead now. We're kind of like building this whole picture, and that's the one fun thing about kind of focusing, your drives in a very, very specific area, because you start building up the picture of all these different species that are co-inhabiting.
So, as Dylan was saying, creatures in certain areas. Here we have a beautiful sunlit clearing and some lions, sunlit lions right in the middle. We have a look at these two right in front of us. Two of the older ones, the male. You can see he's closing his eyes a little bit. He is interested in something off to the right, but he's also, and that lioness has just got up and moved. But he's also enjoying some of the sunlight. And then the older lioness off to his left, or laying right behind him. I can see that lioness that's just gotten up. She looks very intrigued. And earlier we had a quick view of the other male straight in the direction that she's staring at. And they were up and it looked like they were playing a little bit. But she seemed to have lost the enthusiasm that she used to get up. We're only seeing a couple of the members of the pride at the moment, and there's more behind these two further off to our left on the other side of the bush. Oh, there's another lioness coming from the right, and now they're staring down towards the riverbed side. So for those of you that can't see, I know it's difficult to see, but there's a green tree line. Oop, listen to that. One's calling. Called and stopped. I like this male lion. What I like most about him is the fact that he sometimes just starts something off quite quickly and then just leaves it. I think I'm going to move around a little bit to see what's happening there. David, it is definitely worth getting up for. And just have a look at this scene, how it's quickly changed from laying down to lions with two tiny little cubs off to our right. Look at those two. You can see they've got their tails up. One looks like it's calling. I think a situation like this might be a little bit stressful for them sometimes. We also haven't really seen them. Whoa! And there's a huge herd of elephants coming from the other side. I am going to reposition a little bit so that we might get a view of these lions with the elephants coming from the back. You can see these lions have just stopped. They can hear the other one calling from further off to the right. There's a lot of communicating going on here. I think with the elephants it's just moved into the picture. There's a little bit of confusion going on. I'm not sure exactly where they're going. It looks like they might be moving down in towards the riverbed. Sandra, that is a good question. Now, I know that there has been some research done on that, on whether cubs from the same litter can have different fathers, and specifically on domestic cats. I know it has been proven. So, with regards to wild cats and big cats like the lions, I think it's also possible. However, I'm not entirely sure. And we're gonna have to make sure about that and find out and come back to you. Talking about coming back, I know yesterday one of our viewers asked a question about wild dogs' ears. Now, with wild dogs, in regards to their ears, she asked why they are round in shape. And I had a little look yesterday, and from what I could see, they say because of increased surface area. It means that it helps with their body heat regulation as well as their hearing. Oh, you can see this male has just rubbed up his face up against this. Looks like a russet bush willow that he rubbed his face up. Indication that he's marking. His whole pride is here, so he needs to establish his dominance. You can see the rest, they have moved down in towards the riverbed. I can see the elephants still coming, and they're getting a lot closer at the moment. There is a large herd moving over. Okay, here they come. I'm not going to move closer for now. Where those lions have gone, unfortunately, is extremely dense in there. And for me to move into that area with this large herd of elephants, there's baby elephants as well. You can hear the lions calling. If I had to go move in there, and these elephants come across the lions, then I would be in the wrong place at the wrong time for sure. Have a look, it looks like they're going straight towards where those lions are. Yo, quite a large herd. Let's have a look. I'm sure that female up ahead might pick up on the scent of them. See, her trunk's just gone down. How amazing, that small little elephant. Shame. This might be, I'm sure it's not its first encounter with lions nearby, but that little thing could not be in a safer place at this moment, even though the whole pride of lions with two big males is down in that riverbed. I can see one of the females at the back has just stopped, and she's sniffing the grass over there. Let's have a look and see what she does. I think she might have just picked up on the scent of the lions. I don't think she's looking for something to eat. same time I can also hear another lion calling from far towards our east. I don't think those ones that I heard calling from the east are part of the pride that we are looking at. That might be a different one. But these elephants, what's amazing is they are literally just passing through. I'm sure they picked up on the smell of the lions, but now some of them have stopped. Looks like they've started to feed straight up ahead from us where it's a little bit denser. I can see there's one moving off to the left with a younger one. No, that one's also turned. I think this might be a brief stop just to feed a little bit in the shade. Karen, 23 elephants. That's a decent sized herd, I think. There might be more than 23. I didn't count them myself at the moment. Like, the situation is, there's quite a lot happening, and I didn't focus on the numbers itself. But I'm sure there's at least 23 elephants. And the herds we see in this part, they vary in size. They can be anything from only a few elephants to more than 30. Oh, there's a very upset young little one coming from over on the left. He came right from that dry riverbed. Maybe he's picked up on the smell of the lions in that area. And there's also in a playful mood, you can see. Throwing his head around, ears out to make himself look bigger. Looks like the one on the left's doing the same. Now, if I'm not mistaken, both of those little ones at the back are young males. And as most young schoolboys do, they usually hang around at the back and they move in their own little groups. At the age that they are, they become a little bit more adventurous and a lot more playful. You can see the rest of the herds just moving off slowly and steadily towards the riverbed side. Well, these two are playing around at the back, but they're still trying to keep up. How amazing is that? I see the other male lioness just walk past us as well. He's also heading down towards the riverbed, which I think we're also going to head to see if we can try and relocate them.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
Here we have got an elephant bull. I believe that you've had elephants and lions. We have only managed to find you an elephant. He's a relaxed young fellow who's just going about the late winter morning enjoying his breakfast. We're into that very lovely time of the year where the expectation of spring is in the air. A question from one of the most wonderful Twitter handles, Lions ate my mum. I hope that that isn't actually true. I hope that lions didn't ever eat your mum, but if they did, I'm sorry. Must have been a traumatic event. I don't know if there's ever been a natural anthrax outbreak here, Juma, that's affected the elephants. Certainly not while I've been around. So I don't know. How's that, Craig? It's not going to be the best elephant shot you've ever taken. Now, I think you're talking about or comparing it with the confusing state of affairs in Botswana where all those elephants have died. Now, I was sent a paper yesterday, actually, that I haven't managed to read just yet, on that situation. And just to keep those of you, or bring those of you who don't know what I'm talking about up to speed, I think it's something like 350 to 400 elephants have just dropped dead around an area in Botswana. And initially poisoning was suspected, but no other animals died, and there was a whole lot of sort of conspiracy theories about government cover-ups, and maybe there were some government cover-ups. Anyway, it would seem that there is some kind of disease at play. I don't know what it is. As far as I know, I haven't read this new paper. It could be an anthrax of some description, and anthrax, I don't know if you get different kinds of anthrax, but I'll go and read up on it today. And lions ate my mum. Maybe I'll be able to give you more information this afternoon. Now, what this chap's doing is heading towards this torchwood tree in the hopes of one of the torchwood seeds, perhaps. The torchwood seed, to the human nose, smells like a dried apricot, and that makes me feel ill. Yes, here we go. To give it a bit of a shake. In the hopes that a seed falls. Reke, elephants don't always destroy the trees. It's an interesting question that. They do break off branches and bite them, but you know, they don't destroy the trees any more than, say, an impala does. It's just on a different scale. And in this particular area, the trees have evolved to cope with being fed upon by elephants in the same way that the trees have evolved to being fed upon by other browsers in other parts of the world where there aren't elephants. And so, yes, they do to our human eyes. It does appear that they break the trees, and they do break off branches, but it's not destructive. It's not a wantonly destructive behavior. It is just simply a function of consumption. That's what they do. He's found some seeds. And it just happens to be on a much larger scale than you're used to seeing with other things. And it's important to understand that, because there is this impression created that elephants are destructive and that they will destroy an area and they push over big trees. And yes, they do from time to time, but they've been doing it forever and ever. And so the environments in which they exist are often filled with trees that can cope with it. And it's just our human eyes that don't like the sight of big trees being pushed over. It gives us the impression that the elephants are in some way doing something they shouldn't be, or that they are damaging the environment in a way that they shouldn't be. And in a big open system like the Greater Kruger, which is where we are, you know, it's going to happen. And it has done for millennia. It's a different story on an enclosed reserve, for example. A place like Pinda, they're very careful about their elephants. They monitor and research how many they have and their effect on the vegetation all the time. He's really hoping for some seeds, but I think he's at the wrong time of the year. He's not giving a very enthusiastic shove. Come on. First time I saw this behavior was in Botswana, with the big palm trees that they have there. And every night all I could hear was bah, bah, bah. The elephants hit the trees and the palm nuts came down. I'm just going to roll forward a bit. Let's see if we can get a slightly better view of him. We're now into what I like to refer to as stick season. So there are a lot of sticks in just about every shot.
So we've managed to find this last male lion that's crossed the riverbed again, and he's just got up and moving quite quickly in the direction where we suspect the rest of the pride might be. He was rolling around in a patch of sand in front of us. Now I'm not sure why exactly. It looks like he licked up some of the sand and ate some, and then he also rubbed himself in it and rolled in it. Might be that there might have been some scent. Maybe one of the other lions or something else. I think let's follow him. Let's see where he goes, and if we're lucky, he'll lead us to the rest of the pride. So myself and Owen's going to try catch up with these lions and see where this lion is moving to.
Our elephant is still trying to find himself some little apricot flavoured treats. Again, let me just sneak forward so that there are fewer sticks. There we are. Oh, it's almost a clear picture, Craig. There are only about 4 tons of sticks between us and him now. Ladybug Sarah, you want me to identify and show you the rare sticks around. I will do so during the course of the next 2 weeks while I'm here. For the sticks are going to become more and more in evidence as the leaves fall from the trees. And we go into what I refer to as the business end of the dry season. That is not the business end of the elephant that we're looking at, that's the other end. I mean, that's almost like he's done it on purpose, isn't it? We're heading up towards a dam at the northeastern section of Djuma. Biffle's Hook Waterhole, Biffle's Hook Dam. Buffalo Corner Dam. See what we can find up there. I haven't found any tracks of predators today. Very nice having the elephants around. I'm going to leave him because he's just lurking in amongst the sticks. So we'll head up towards the water.
So we've followed these lionesses, and they've actually managed to, well, I mean, they cornered some buffalo bulls, but the buffalo bulls seem to have moved off now. They're not particularly phased. I mean, you can just see them in the distance now. They actually did come across the the buffaloes, and the buffaloes sort of looked at them and then were not phased at all, just walked towards the lions, and the lions had to give them some space. It's interesting. You know, these lions have got full bellies. It's unusual to think that they would actually even consider hunting some buffalo. And I don't think they're seriously considering it. I think it's more just instinct telling them that it's an animal, something they could hunt. Just listen for a moment. I feel like one of them is contact calling. Yes, very low call. Just listen. They've gone quiet now. See, this lioness is one of the older ones, and she's got scars on her face, on her neck. It's really showing the battle wounds. She's a warrior. There's lions in the area. We heard lions last night roaring. One big lion. It sounded like a male roaring in the distance. Perhaps they're actually looking for that male lion. Or maybe that male lion heard the commotion of these ones hunting last night and catching something. It's moving into the area. Here she comes. I don't know if this is one of the old lionesses. This actually might be Lagatha. It's hard to tell the size of a lion when they're not next to each other, but this one's got dark marks on its neck. Just like Lagatha had, I can't tell. No, I don't think so. The ears look too torn. Yeah, no. Leanne's asked why lionesses don't have manes, and Leanne, they don't have manes generally because they don't necessarily need to do as much fighting as males do. Look at that, how they're camouflaged amongst the grass. So the males have manes to protect their necks from fighting. That's one of the reasons, and also to appear larger, to intimidate rivals. But it does make them quite a lot bulkier. So lionesses don't need that mane. It keeps them nice and nimble and quick, and they can hide in the short grass. And, you know, they're much quicker, more agile animals. The mane is really to make the male lions look bigger and more impressive. So that's why. Oh, they're lying down now. We're going to try and get ourselves a little bit closer, just because they do seem to be resting. It is getting warmer now. You can really feel that, the buffalo's coming back. I don't know if you can just see that buffalo there on the right, Gerd. Look at the buffaloes starting to approach these lions as they lie in sand. There's a bit of a standoff. Oh. Watch out. This buffalo can cause some serious damage. And you can see, even though there are 5 lionesses here, the buffalo does not seem to be too phased. It's not running, it's not panicking. If this buffalo starts to run, that's when the lions might take their chance and jump on its back. But as long as it stays calm like this, it can use those wickedly sharp horns to protect itself and its massive bulk as well. I mean, even the oxpeckers haven't flown off, which they normally would do if the buffalo was panicked and being hunted. But the buffalo is as calm as anything. It's an old, wise buffalo, and it knows that without a really concentrated effort, these lions don't really stand much of a chance. And it's got its friend in the back there. You can just see the back. Another large, powerful buffalo just walking through the undergrowth, watching its back. Oh, there goes another lioness. Oh, not willing to take any chances. This is so awesome to see. A butterfly, you think it's a massive buffalo? I also think it's a massive buffalo. The one behind it is even bigger. So, yeah, these 2 powerful creatures that weigh, about 5 times as much as these lions. I mean, it's really, there's no contest here. There's really no contest, especially with the lions with full bellies like these do. They're not willing to risk injury for a very tiny chance of success. This buffalo is being so blatant. Now it's actually feeding. It's feeding in the middle of this lion pride. That's how confident it is that it is safe from these lions. I've never seen that before. There's one lion you can just see at the base of that tree, very close, maybe just about 6 meters from that buffalo. And I don't know if it hasn't been seen or if the buffalo just doesn't care. But you can see the lion has got its ears down and flat. She's trying to remain hidden from these buffaloes, whether it's to try and catch it or just not to be seen. I think it's more likely afraid to be seen. If you hear a sound of a vehicle moving, there is another vehicle in the sighting with us. This buffalo is actually feeding towards this lion. It's a game of chicken. It's a game of buffalo. GM, this is a game of chicken that I think only one animal is likely to win. See, there goes another lion. That's a smaller lion. Out of there. Not willing to take even a single chance. The buffalo, you can see it's used its horns before. The horns are shining and they've actually got a little bit of red on them. That's red from the bark of it. Oh, comes running in the other buffalo. That buffalo is even bigger than this first one, the closer one. The lions don't know what to do. Sometimes it's just practice for the lions, or, as I said before, instinct. They can't help but just follow and surround and move. But they're not even really looking anymore, the lions. They're moving around, these buffaloes. I think they're losing interest in the standoff. I think they're going to end up moving off. Look at that buffalo. You can see the light shining off of its incredible muscles. That neck is so thick. I've seen a video before of a lioness being thrown up into the air by a buffalo that wasn't quick enough, and the buffalo managed to catch it with its massive head and horns and threw this thing up into the air. I'm sure that lioness was not in a good way after that. So you can just see the lion behind the buffalo. This is amazing. Now, cutting the losses, deciding, you know what, you win this round, but the war continues. Buffaloes and lions are often considered eternal enemies. Amazing. Ready, Ruby, would the buffaloes ignore the lions? I don't think they would ignore them completely. I mean, certainly they're not giving them too much attention because they know they're fairly safe from this pride of lions. There's two young ones. Oh, smell them, Ready Ruby. You said, can they smell them? I thought you said, can you ignore? Can they smell them? Yes, definitely, 100%. They've got an incredible sense of smell. And, yeah, the lions, if they're on the wrong side of the wind, right now it feels like the wind is maybe blowing. It's difficult to say. It's kind of swirling a bit, but, yeah, it's a swirling wind like that. Yeah, the buffaloes would definitely smell these lions. I can't tell, Gert. Is there a lion? There is a lion. There's an ear of a lion right there. And they'll smell those lions, and they would have immediately known that lions were in the area. And oftentimes, big buffalo bulls like this will go straight towards the smell in order to investigate. And, you know, often a good offense is the best defense. And that's what these buffaloes have opted for. They've gone straight to the lions, back to back with each other, and they have not let the lions get even a little bit of a sniff in there. If you were walking through this area, you wouldn't even see that lion. A buffalo is a massive thing, but the lion you wouldn't even see. Just see the tuft of an ear. It's actually the only lioness that we've seen yet that hasn't been pushed off by the buffaloes. It's just sat there calmly. It also knows that unless it causes trouble, the buffaloes probably won't do anything to it. So interesting to watch behavior like this. This is one of my favorite things to do, just to sit and watch animals do their thing. And what's great is to see that they're paying us no attention. Neither the buffalo nor the lions have really even looked towards us. They're just doing their thing. She gets up. What's she going to do? What are you thinking, lion? Play a bit more or follow the rest of the pride? What's your plan? Man, but even this lion has a powerful neck. You can see those muscles, thick neck, the shoulders, the back legs. Oh, but look at it. Oh no, it's not. I thought it was going to start stalking towards that buffalo again. It knows better than that. Look at her walking off into that golden grass. She's going to follow the rest of the pride now, and we're going to lose visual of them. They're moving away, but we're going to try and catch up with them to see what else they come up with. It's always amazing to see, you know, follow animals through the bush, and then all of a sudden they encounter something. I mean, we've seen it on Pride Lands before, where wild dogs were running and they chased leopard up into a tree, with lions moving through, chased leopard up into a tree. So the same thing might happen just now. So let's keep following them and see what happens.
And we were finally able to find this one male again. Not far ahead of him. We can't see the rest now, but the rest of the pride is here as well. So he's stuck up with them. And it looks like nature is called. Just he's busy relieving himself. I guess all the walking this morning made the bowels move. I'm sure the others aren't far from there. They must be somewhere behind those trees over there. Yes, we definitely got here just in time for this. And I'm sure he's going to join up with the rest. So I think let's follow him. Let's see where he goes and see if we can see the rest of them. There's a nice clearing up here and our view might be great. Now, it looks like the others might also still be moving as we're moving. So, and they move quite quickly. So we're gonna try and catch up with them again, myself and Owen.
We've got a nice big herd of elephants here with some bebes and some cows, and one of them I recognize. She's got very long thin tusks, but now naturally she disappeared. But that little one there is taking deep offense at our presence. He's very funny. There we are. Sorry, old boy. Don't mean to give you trouble. Hello, Greybeard. As everyone knows, elephants are afraid of mice. And so, you know, were a woodland dormouse or a gerbil or some other form of rodent to come trotting past here, all these elephants would freak out and run for miles. That's obviously a joke. I don't think they're as afraid of mice. They are afraid of just about all predators. Now, I say afraid, they're very defensive around all predators. So a herd like this, if they were around lions, which you've seen at Ngala, they would become deeply distressed. They'd gather together, put the babies in the middle. If they saw a leopard walk through here, they'd trumpet and make a noise. Even wild dogs, they'll gather the youngsters together. But it does strike me as slightly ridiculous, because other than for very large prides of lions and very large clans of hyenas, it is highly unlikely that anything would threaten a herd of elephants like this. There's the cow with the big tusks there, Craig. And if you can see her, she's now deep in the sticks. Let me just sneak slightly forward. I'm hoping we'll be able to roll. That's it. There we go. There we go. It's being very kind to us, this herd. Very peaceful, feeding along. And they'll end up at that waterhole. I'm pretty sure that's the general direction in which they're heading. I don't know if you can hear them rumbling at each other. This go-away bird is ruining the sound of the elephant slightly. It's quite cute. He's sitting up on this dead tree, which I think is going to mask him. You see him, Craig? Or has he got himself perfectly perched? Yes, rather. And gone. Let's just go a little bit further down the road here. Another view of all of these lovely tiny baby elephants.
What a sight. And I'm sure the last sight you would have wanted to see when you were a cow farmer in these parts about 100 years ago. The whole pride walking across a clearing. You can see in the distance the two males have caught up, and then some of the younger ones up ahead. You can see one lioness has just stopped. She's looking towards a riverbed. You can see some of the other younger ones at the backs also stopped, having a look in that direction. They're being really active this morning, and I think it's because of the cool breeze blowing. And there's the young white female. And the two males at the back. Now, as we can see, they're moving spread out in bits and pieces across this large clearing. Any prey animal that might be nearby now would see them quite clearly, but they don't seem too bothered at this point. I think they are moving with intent, and they're actually moving directly back along the same route they did towards the position they were at last night. And you can see they're moving on the roads. Now a lion likes to take the shortest route, and these ones like us, they know exactly where these roads going. It looks like I think they might be heading straight back towards the Timavati. But it's almost, I can't help but wonder, it's almost like they went to go fetch the female with the young cubs. She was separated from the pride the last couple of days, and we're not sure where she kept them. And then this male, he was the one that was with them last night. Rachel, yes. The male lions with a dark mane like this one in front of us, they are handsome, at least to the lionesses. It is interesting with these two though. The one in front is a little bit lighter, his mane, but he's the one we see more regularly with the pride. Where this one at the back, he is the physically larger male and the physically darker maned one as well, which is generally believed to be the more attractive to the lionesses. And now they're all disappearing down the road straight towards the Timavati riverbed. I think myself and Owen will follow them and see if they get towards the riverbed eventually.
It sounds like our colleagues are getting more things than we are this morning. It is which I'm very, very pleased about. So why I really want to try and find these goshawks, and why we're going to put some focus and energy into them early in the mornings, is that it's probably your best time to get them if they've got a nest, because early in the mornings they're going to actually be very, very close to the nest. So even if they don't have eggs or chicks at the time, they'll be roosting either on the nest or very, very, very close to the nest, and they'll only start moving as it gets warmer a little bit later in the day. So we've obviously got a really big area to cover here, but that's just why I want to, we'll just amble slowly along, stop and look, stop and look, stop and look. It's the best way of finding them, and unfortunately there are no shortcuts to these kind of things. But if we can get them, it is going to be awesome stuff. And it might be a little bit gruesome going forward, but we'll like warn people, because the thing is, if you find the nest and you got that female sitting on it, they'll be bringing food items, prey items back to the chicks, and then you're going to get some insane stuff.
Our dwarfies are wakening up. Slowly but surely. The alpha male comes out first, remember. We've got two. Oh, that was a yawn. We've got two. Oh, no. 3. So that must mean that all is clear. The alpha male has signaled to the rest of the gang that all is good. Now, I mentioned the giraffe paper. It was from 2016, actually, earlier than I realized. But if anyone's interested, it's called Multi-Locus Analysis, Reveal 4 Giraffe Species instead of 1. It's found on Current Biology and is by Finessi et al., 2016. If anyone wants a good read, it's quite heavy, it's quite scientific, but it's definitely 4 species, 100%. And they confirm 9 subspecies, because there's been between 7 to 9 assumed subspecies, but now they're classifying it in 9. So, back to the mongoose. They are the perfect size for many predators out here, dwarf mongoose, aerial predators and ground-dwelling predators. So they really have to be careful. If dwarf mongoose didn't have the rest of the business, or the gang, they probably wouldn't have such a high survival rate. They would be on their own. They would have no one to alert them, no one to look out. And they would be snapped up quickly by all sorts of predators. And that's why they really do rely on one another for their survival. Megan, I want to see it. Send it to me. You got a great shot of the mongoose yawning. Sweet. I've actually got a few shots of mongoose yawning next to the giant plated lizard that I'm so determined to show you all. I've managed to habituate that lizard. I've been working on it. And I've just not managed to get it live. And I got a good shot of that little mongoose yawning. And it's quite unique because they've got really pale pink. There we go. I hope you got that one too, Megan. We can start a collage. The yawning of the dwarf mongoose. It's very sweet. And you know, they say yawning's contagious. So I hope I don't start yawning in your ear soon. Theo, are you yawning? No, he's not yawning. Yawning in chimpanzees is very contagious, and they bring it down to empathy. They say that it shows chimpanzees are showing themselves empathy. It's quite a fascinating study. But I know when I see someone yawn, it just reminds me how tired I am. Look at them watching us. They're looking all around, listening all around. If you think about it, a predator, be it a bird of prey, or even a leopard, could be sitting on top of that mound very silently, waiting for the first little mongoose to come out and snap it up. And that's why the alpha male does the first round of checks. The bravest of them all. He comes out and he doesn't just check the ground. He checks the air. He checks all around the mound before signaling to everyone else that it's okay to come out. And he scent marks them all as well, so that everyone is rest assured that they're all from the same little gang and there's no intruders. All sorts of threats and considerations if you're a dwarf mongoose. So I'm just going to sit and watch these little guys yawn some more before bumbling on to find something else.
We've got about 30 elephants around us, but they've all disappeared now down into this drainage line, and the reason they've done that is that this big bull who is hanging around the herd has created a bit of consternation. They don't like him very much, and that's because he is a threat. He's a very large fellow. He can be intimidating to the youngsters, and well, he's after one of the ladies, clearly. And if they don't get what they want, these bulls, they can become pretty violent. Doesn't smell like he's in must though, so I'm not sure what he's doing with the ladies other than having a flirtatious breakfast with them. I'll just move slightly forward to see if we can't get a better view of his face, which has got some fairly impressive tusks on it. Yes, season and weather definitely affects the behavior of animals. I don't think we understand the extent to which it affects their behavior. I also think that sometimes we attribute their behavior to aspects of the weather without really knowing whether it's true or not. But yeah, in general, the windier and rainier it is, the more animals will head for the thick bush. That goes for just about all animals, and in the case of elephants like this, you can see that they have no hair on them, and that's because it's difficult for them to lose heat. But it does mean that if the wind blows and it's rainy and wet and cold, they'll try and seek a place where they can get out of the wind so that they don't get too cold. So he's got quite an impressive set of tusks, that fellow. I put him at aged, let's say 35-ish. He does a bit more. I think the tip of his tusk's actually broken off. But it's quite sharp when he turns. There, you can see. So it's not so much flat as it's cracked off, except that both of them look the same. So I don't know, maybe it's just unusually shaped tusks. They've definitely been worn to quite a nasty looking point. That would have no problem penetrating the shell of the Land Rover. Some apple leaf bushes that he's obliterating. Sound is one you listen out for when you're on foot, not the crunching so much, because if an elephant's heard you coming, they'll stop feeding, but often someone in the herd will drop a dung ball onto the ground, and so you'll be walking through knowing that there are elephants around somewhere, and you'll hear, and then you know you're close by. It is relaxing listening to them eat, and it's also relaxing just being around them. Well, most of the time. I mean, if they're chasing you down the road, it's not very relaxing. This chap's not doing that.
still in the tree. Yeah. So we've just come across this incredible scene. The entire pride's busy hunting, and they were all hunting different things. You see that? That's a bush baby. Now they literally flushed this bush baby out of a dead tree stump in front of us. And two of them were jumping frantically across the grass, and the younger lions were all chasing them. So they literally chased them up that knobthorn, and now these two are stranded there with a pride of lions around them, as you can see. I think this is truly amazing. There was also another one off to our right that was hunting a mongoose. Couldn't see exactly which one. Might have been a banded mongoose. But they found the perfect spot with tall enough grass, a lot of dead trees. And I think there's a lot of small mammals hiding within these poles of grass. Bernice, that is very, very good to hear. First time to see a bush baby. It's unfortunate that you see the bush baby within this situation. Unfortunate for the bush baby. But for the lions, this is certainly the first time I've seen them do this behavior from them. I think they are actually having a lot of fun here at the moment. Besides hunting, there's so much happening. I can hear every now and again one of them rustling in the grass. You can see, look at those ears up. See, every now and again, stop, listen, and then quick movements. And with those large ears of theirs, they are able to hear so much better than we can. They initially turned off the road to come into this area. There was I'm not sure what it was. It looked like a large antelope, which drew their attention, and then I think the younger one spooked it off, so the attempt has failed. But now they've come across this stands of knobthorn. Lynette, bush babies are nocturnal, and that's why they were unfortunate to be flushed by these lions. Normally they wouldn't be active at this point. They will find a nice secluded spot where they'll sit and rest up during the day. I think they were just unfortunate that the Birmingham Pride made their way past that spot. You can see all of them are moving around in different directions. I think they're going to regroup at this stage. And they're probably going to continue with more serious things of looking for a large prey item on their way down to the riverbed. I'm still thinking that they're going to move down towards the Timbavati. And the spot coming up ahead is quite a tricky spot. Ooh, I can see one or two laying down. That one's getting up again. I think it's also getting to that time of the morning where they've moved large distance during the night, and they might start to look for a place to lay down. The breeze is still going, so I wouldn't be surprised if the larger lionesses are more driven to continue. But between here and the riverbed, anything can happen. And looks like they're all moving in that direction now.
Well, I have checked the hyena den twice today, just as an update, and nobody's there. The hyenas that we saw first thing this morning, I'm sure it was in Tima, they're not there. No one's. And I am finding it frustrating, I'm not going to lie to you all. I keep going and going and going and going, driving the cameraman mad, and no one's there. So the cops are still inside, but we're just not getting the chance to really spend time with them like we used to. So I shall keep trying, I shall not give up. I'll be there this afternoon as well. But just as an update for you all, I have been twice this morning. Juma's very, very quiet. There's been a lot of people working the area and not even a single leopard track. But we do have some trusty old impalas. Well, one's even sitting down. Many of you are dying to know how Corky is. We saw her just 2 nights ago. We had a lovely sighting with Corky and her little one. So I think that Corky is very well. And it's Ribbon that I've not seen in a few days, and it's Ribbon's little one that I want to check on. And sadly, we're just not getting the chance. I don't think they have moved. I think there's just a lot of activity elsewhere, and they're waiting on food. Winter can generally be harsh, so hyenas know that they need to stock up on all the delicious yumminess. So I've checked all the other corners of the reserve. I'm now heading west.
And as you can see, it looks like this bush baby has just dropped its head a little bit, and I can't see too clearly from where I am. It looks like he might have also started closing its eyes. Yeah, it looks like it. The other one is just off to the left of that one. And you can see both of these look like they were maybe a little bit traumatized with that event. Now, I don't know if that has ever happened to them. Like, that's impossible to know. I certainly know that I have never seen anything like this. I wouldn't even imagine that something as large as a lion would go after something as small as a bush baby, which is actually unbelievable. You can see piggy bush babies are primates. They are a primate that is closer related. They had a common ancestor with the lemurs in Madagascar, so they're not quite the monkeys and the apes that we find in other areas of Africa, but they are primates. They are nocturnal primates though. And the correct name for this little one is actually a lesser galago. It looks like they've turned back, even though it's not the greatest spot. But you can see a little bit of movement on the left-hand side. But I think they found the spot to rest up. It's almost like that took so much energy getting away from the lions and trying to, well, literally stay alive, that even though they found that bare tree, they might actually settle there for a while until they know that the danger is completely over. But highly unusual for sure. Seeing 2 of them in daylight is these they certainly are cute for sure. If there's no other way to describe them, I guess they might be one of the best animals to fit with that label. You can see the one off on the right looks like its tail is a little bit cool. It almost looks like it might be grabbing on. I can see the ears moving. Butterfly, that's a good question. Exactly in terms of a formula or to put a distance to it, it's very difficult to say. I have seen a bush baby before clear one of our roads from the one side to the other side in one jump, and when it's on the ground, at least in the trees, I've seen them jump between trees that is really, really far. Like at least 2 meters in some cases. But I'm not sure if there's any specific distance that you could put to the distance that they can cover with one jump. I do know that once they get onto the ground, then they kind of hop on their hind legs exactly like a lemur would move. They certainly, so I don't know, Owen, if maybe you zone out a little, no, have a look a little bit more. There's a tree off to the right of the tree that the bush baby's in, the one with the large green leaves. Now, from the base of that tree, the one leaped all the way up to the position where it is in now. The one on the right, or maybe a little bit lower towards that nuke. So I'm not sure exactly how high that is, but it looks like it might be at least 1.8 meters. And they've got incredibly strong back legs. And as you can... Lynette, I have not seen the sightings on the other reserves, but this is certainly an incredible sighting. And I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it. You know, I can also see the wind's picked up a little bit now, and it's quite cool. So these two bush babies, from wherever they were, they're sitting up high right in that wind at the moment. I'm sure once they feel the coast is clear, they're going to come down and they might move back towards a safe spot.
We have a climbing warthog. It was on top of this termite mound and it's just making its way around the termite mound, finding any sort of delicious food for breakfast. It's on those wrist joints. Forget it. Someone's a hungry Horus. Now the tusks in warthogs are not incisors like elephants. They're the canine teeth. And they grow out sideways. And that's how it's visible, because it can get so long. And that's how we can see them. They grow from the upper and the lower jaw. There's two sets. And believe it or not, the longest record, or the sort of longest tusks on record, 600 millimeters in length. Isn't that crazy? It's a very long set of tusks for a warthog. And it's always the lower tusks that you can't actually really see that you have to watch. Oh, hello Impala. That you have to watch out for in warthogs. But these canines that form the tusks actually erupt at less than a month in warthogs. So when you see these tiny little wart piglets running around, their canines have already started to erupt from the jaw. It's a warthog's main form of defense, so it's very, very important that these young ones also develop the tusks as quickly as possible. I think it's wandering off there, enjoying breakfast on Arathusa, an area we can't traverse, but we can always pop our nose in. Didn't catch that name, but yes, it's got a very long mane, or the hair on its back, very long. Liza? Oh, that's your name. I think I'm getting that wrong, but yes, it does. I can't actually see if it's male or female from here. I normally can look at the facial warts or the genitals, but from where? Ah, yes, it's a male. How did I miss that? Sorry, everyone. Just needed a closer look there. It's definitely a male. Hence the long mane as well. Males, tend to have a little bit of a longer mane than females do. since our warthog has disappeared, and I actually have a tusk here, Theo. Now this is a very old tusk that, well, used to live in the tent as well. And you can see how big it is actually. This is my hand next to it. But the main thing is how heavy it is. It's very, very dense. Really, really dense, this tusk. So if you imagine you're a warthog and you have to carry this, that's why they've got such muscular necks and such specially adapted skulls for that reason. Because these tusks are very heavy, and if you think about it, they have 2 sets of them. And normally it's much sharper at the end. But of course, due to wear and tear, this is a very old tusk. It's slightly blunt, but they are really sharp. I carry all sorts of delights in the vehicle with me, but yes, it's very, very heavy. And if you think about it next to myself, this is what I would look like with a warthog tusk. Protrudes far out from the face. So yes, warthogs, powerful weapon right here. Okay, I'm going to continue bumbling the west. Let's see what we can find.
Some fantastic news. We've just managed to get reports about 5 minutes ago of the 2 mountain lionesses and their 5 youngsters, and they weren't too far away from us. And here they are, everyone. How fantastic. So you'll see that the 2 mothers in the front, so the oldest female, that's the closest to us, the younger of the 2 adult females to the right, and then right in the back is the 5 youngsters, tucked away nicely into the grass there. So you might notice that everyone has their head. You might see the females and the cubs busy panting quite heavily, or at least the younger female, not so much the older female, but on the little cubs in the back there. So they have been feeding on an Inyala, a big Inyala bull, for the last 2 days, and it seems that they've left that area, and it's very typical for lionesses after they've made a kill to get as far away from the kill as possible once they finish feeding, because they know how vulnerable the youngsters are to being killed by other predators. And they'll be a little bit more edgy today, those youngsters, just like the zebra, wildebeest and impala that we saw earlier, and we were talking about how the wind would make them a little bit nervous. The exact same things with these cubs, with it being very, very windy. They're having smells from all over, and they can't hear as well. And I'm not sure why they're lying away from their 2 mothers. So the area where we are at the moment is the area where we've just come from, and they are heading, or they were heading, in an easterly direction, which is the direction in where the cubs are at the moment. So I don't know if they were just walking up ahead and then the 2 females decided to lie down. From them eating yesterday, they will probably be internally overheating, and so they are quite hot, and that's why they're panting. And this is the first area where they would have walked, where there's a nice raised area, and by being up on this raised ground here, they're getting the wind, which will cool them down, and also a great vantage point. Now, big male Inyala would have gone down very well for these 2 females and the 5 youngsters. Let's have a look how full this female's belly is. Oh, not extremely full. You'll see. So the older female has a slightly fuller belly than the younger female, and that's because she's the more dominant of the 2. So she would have been able to feed on probably more of the carcass, and when it got towards the end of the Inyala, she would have flat cut. You are right, they are fairly muscular. I think the Pindar lions are just very fortunate that they have a very good diet. They don't struggle to hunt here, whereas some prides maybe only make 1 or 2 kills a week. Our prides of lions are renowned to making 2, sometimes even 3 kills a week. There's lots of Inyala, impala, warthogs, so they've got a very, very good high protein diet. And that's all going to help them with their muscular physique. little bit of a rest. They've been walking for a bit this morning, and so it just took about 5-10 minutes to gain their breath. Moondust, I'm not actually 100% sure of the if it is 5 male cubs. So it is the Biola pride that has all the 5 young males. So I know the guys have been trying to figure out exactly the makeup of the cubs, and we do think it's about 4 females and 1 young male. But at this stage, it's always a little bit difficult to tell. The young male's testicles will start to grow, and that's really at this stage the only way you can tell the difference between a male and female is by seeing those testicles. Oh, you can see some of the cubs busy climbing into a fallen over tree. So at this age, they're not going to jump or climb into too tall trees, but fallen over trees they might try venture into.
Once again, we've caught up with the pride, and we've just caught them after a failed hunt attempt, or another failed hunt attempt. In these clearings that we are, there was a small herd of impala, and the older lionesses, they spread out. They were trying to go at it, and then one of the younger ones unfortunately spoiled the hunt once it moved into the clearing. They're still moving down towards the riverbed. You can see the 2 males still at the back. The young white female was with them. Look how the 1 male splitting off and just taking another route from where the rest are moving. Munda, that's a good question. Is the white lion's disadvantage in terms of camouflage? You know, there is a lot of speculation about that, and there's been a lot said about that. But as far as I know, there's no conclusive studies ever really being done in the wild to suggest that they are really at a disadvantage. I know that some of the studies, there is a paper that was published not too long ago on wild white lions, and according to that, they're not really much of a disadvantage compared to the others. I know there was also some paper written on the effects it has, or their coloration has, on their hunting ability after dark, in which case, on full moon nights, in which case it was actually found that it might even favor them. We are just going to loop around back towards the road and then follow them down towards the riverbed.
Well, this was a very pleasant surprise. I didn't even know the male lion was here, and we're busy following the 2 females and their 5 youngsters. And just out of my peripheral, I managed to see this male lying down. And I wonder if the females know that he's here. He might be trailing them, hoping that they make a kill. These 2 females, for some reason, don't tend to like the rest of the pride or even the males to be around the cubs. So I'm going to be very interested to see how they react if this male does come too close to the cubs. The older female of this pride is a very grumpy female, and she can get very protective over her cubs. Figure he is most certainly a very impressive male, and he does indeed have a very impressive mane. I just love, one of the things I love about his mane is that he's got a fairly large mane, and it's quite dark, but then he's got that little golden rim in the front, and then turns out into the darker black mane, which is of course his way of showing other males that he is a large dominant male. And the larger and darker the mane, it seems that the more dominant those males often are. And quite a lot of research has shown that lions with dark manes tend to be the more dominant ones in the pride, and when it comes to fighting, those are the males that the other prides want to try avoid. So it seems that they've all moved over. I don't want to lose them. It is quite a thick area up ahead and over, and there's quite a lot of rocks here. So we're going to have to do this slow and steady to see if we can catch up. And I'm hoping that we see some interesting interaction from the female and the male.
One of my favorite birds just sitting in the tree here. Theo's going to get closer for you.
Can you show me?
There's a blue waxbill. They shine really turquoise in the sun. It's calling. Can you hear that? How lovely to get them calling. Very difficult birds to put on camera. This one looks like it's just woke up. What a lovely little sight. I think I'm gonna.
Naturally, there it is. It is the white-crowned shrike, everybody. We did see it, and now you'll see it again. It thought it spotted a grasshopper to eat, but it just hovered a bit above the ground and then flew back up to its perch. I believe you're looking at a blue waxbill with Lauren. You'll find, quite possibly, James Richard, that there were some green-winged pytilias around those blue waxbills. They often move in a group. It's beautiful English, that. They often move in a group. There goes the white-crowned shrike. And so shall we continue gently along this road towards the south. We saw a big herd of buffalo while you were away, but they were in the reserve to the north of us. And they were a very long distance view, so we didn't have a long stop. There is the white-crowned shrike again. His colours beautiful against the blue vault. Samuel, I had reports, or Lauren said to me, that Trishala had seen Tingana not too long ago, and that he has been, or word of his presence on Buffelshoek, which is the reserve north of us, have been relatively frequent over the last little while. So it would seem that he is still extant. I would love very much to see him, I must say. Craig, have you seen him since you've been back? No. So I think he's around. Tingana, for those of you who don't know, our, I suppose, most distinguished male leopard, now approaching his 14th birthday. And so he's pretty much gone into retirement now, although I do believe the last time he was seen he was still in very good nick. But he won't be standing up to a fight with my least favourite male leopard, that is Mulwati. I say my least favourite because he's chased off Tingana, chased off Hukumuri, who was the male to the west of us. And, you know, it's all very well coming in and chasing off the other males, but if you're not prepared to be looked at yourself, then you're, frankly, a waste of oxygen on a reserve like this. Now, before everybody attacks me and tells me I'm a nasty and horrible human being, I am joking. It just would be nice to have Hukumuri and Tingana back, because they were so wonderfully confiding around a vehicle, whereas Mulwati is just terrified of a car, because he obviously didn't grow up around them. Yeah. So Vic Tingana's still looking healthy and strong, which is fantastic. Great news. I don't know, I doubt he's being particularly territorial. He might be operating on a small territory up north in Buffelshoek, but I don't know if he's actually being territorial or not, or if he's just accepted that he is now in his dotage. But Juma is basically now dominated by Molwati, the terrified male leopard. He's terrified of nothing except us. And unfortunately, as far as we're concerned, that's not good. He also never hoists his kills. So secretive is he, which means we don't even get that sort of long-range view of him feeding in a tree. So personally, I hope he doesn't hang around for too long.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
And we are finally in Timbavati riverbed, and now all of the lions have settled. You can see some of them still have their heads up, eyes are opening and closing. Look at that lioness to the right of the big male. Their ears are still moving, they're scanning around. They spread out a little bit. And I think they're still looking. There's a lot happening since this is a riverbed. It's dense on the banks. So there might be something moving up and down. That's the young lioness. We don't see her cubs with them anymore, so I think she's left them. Earlier when we were with them and the elephants in the dry riverbed, she's left them in that dry riverbed more than likely. I can see that lioness looks like she's moving over towards the shade, and the old lioness is there in the shade with one of the younger ones with her. And that's what I think a lot of them might do at this point. It was a cooler morning, nice cool breeze blowing, and I think now that they're out in the riverbed where it's open, the very light sand and the sun's reflection off that just give them a nice warm feeling now. I think they might just be enjoying that. But by the looks of things, there's a good chance they might settle here for the day. You can see at the far back there's the other large male has just put his head down and he's out. There we go. You see, he is out. He is fast asleep at this point, it looks like. I think he's walked up and down a little bit more than the others did, where I can see slowly but surely they're all moving over towards the others in the shade, and not long from now they might all clump together on that bank.
Absolutely incredible. Not what I expected. Look at the cub trying to climb up. It's like king of the castle. There's the one cub in the view of the tree, and it's not allowing the other cubs to climb up. We've got the two mothers in the tree, the male just off to the left, keeping his distance. The other cubs trying to come up from the other side of the tree now. Look at those claws. Oh my word. I did not expect these cubs to try climb into this tree when I saw the mothers climbing into it. This is the first time any of us that I know of have seen a cub into a tree. Oh, there we go. Oh. It's a good way we can see whether they're males or females now when they're busy climbing trees. So the one that's climbing up now had testicles. So that is at least one male. Then there's another cub off to the right that's decided that he can't climb this tree. So he's just climbing a fallen over tree. Oh, just fallen out of the tree. This is so awesome. Once again, Peter lions climbing trees. So normally we've been seeing it with the Bayala pride, But now we've got mountain pride climbing trees. Ellison, it is so adorable. I couldn't agree more. And you have the one mother who's lying very comfortably off to the right, just relaxing. The younger female almost surveying the area, and the cubs all trying to figure out how they're going to follow the one that's in the tree. Look how they're all looking up, watching the mother move around. So all learned behavior, watching the confidence of the mothers in the tree. The problem is that the area where the mothers are lying, they've kind of blocked it off for the youngsters to climb any higher. Let's see, the one that's in the V is having a look up. Maybe it's going to try to get up to the female on the right. I wouldn't be surprised if these cubs do climb this tree if they don't fall out. As they get older, they will get stronger, but lions aren't perfectly adapted to climbing trees, so their balance won't be as good as that of a leopard. And at this age, they're still very clumsy on the ground, let alone up in the tree. And this is probably one of the highest vantage points that these lions could have, and I wonder if that's why they didn't climb into this tree. Because by climbing into the tree, they can see much further. Ooh, let's see if she's going to jump out. Yep, I don't know. She lifted her head, so she turned around, and something caught her attention. I can hear oxpeckers in that direction. So I wonder if there's not impala or wildebeest or zebra off in that direction that's caught her attention. Wow, jeepers. The way she moved through that tree was like she was a leopard. That was so incredible. I haven't seen a lion run through a tree like that before. And the cubs obviously not going to stay behind and be left behind, so they want to now see where the adults are going to. But I think that there's something up ahead that they could potentially hunt. I can hear oxpeckers. I could see she lifted her nose into the air. I wonder if the male's going to trail from behind. He's been keeping about 100 meters or so from them, and I think that's because he's probably been on the receiving end of this grumpy female today. But if they do make a kill, he's going to go running over and steal this kill away from the 2 females and the 5 cubs.
And we've just had a really nice view of a... oh, there she is. A female Coqui Franklin. Disappeared into the grass. Unfortunately, your lions took their sweet time climbing out of the tree, so we didn't get a great view for you. But Craig and I really thoroughly enjoyed our view of the female Coqui Franklin. I don't have my bird book with me right now. I left it behind, and so I cannot show you a picture of it, unfortunately. The male's got that head that looks like it's been dipped in molten gold. We've come out back towards the clearings around the camp. At this time of the day, there's often a little bit of general game action around there, and I'm thinking maybe some elephants, possibly down towards the waterhole near the camp. Oh, look at this. Well, well. This poor tree has had better days. Now, this is one of the unusual examples of the Chilia nilotica, or the scented thorn. I should say it used to be one of the unusual examples of the Chilia nilotica, or the scented thorn. And the way you differentiate it from something like a red thorn is the very, very black bark on the trunk. It's also a lot more kind of bushy. It's a bit sad. Oh well. Possibly it will coppice. It might even survive. If you look at the rootstock there, it might even manage to sprout from that. And those of you who are vaguely dendrologically interested, it's something of a strangeness to me that this tree doesn't grow in greater profusion here. There are parts of the Lowveld where we are now, or the low country where it is an encroacher species. But here it is very unusual. Wasn't that lovely, Craig? Yes. Action-packed of a Chilean Nilotica sighting. Thank you, Veepsop. You say I know a lot of stuff. Well, what I'm good at is not necessarily knowing a lot of stuff. It's telling you what I do know. So it sounds like I know a lot of stuff. Naturally today, of course, there is not a vague hint of any general game on these clearings.
Now we can see, look at that young male with his head down. His eyes are tightly closed. And I think he's enjoying the sunlight warming him up now. He doesn't seem too bothered at this point. He was licking, I don't know if you see on his hip, there's a bit of a wound, looks like a claw that might have gone in there, that he was licking. And if you still look, you can see some moisture from the saliva. And then the few around them, they have their heads up. So they're still having a look. The birds are making a lot of noise along the riverbank here. And so there's a lot going on that's drawing their attention. Like that little one. She's always alert. Kathy, I agree with you. I think that white male's going to be quite large. If I have to add to that, I can say that I know for a fact that we saw him still suckling from some of the lionesses that had milk more than a year of age, which is a little bit unusual. He's also the one that usually fights around the carcass to get to eat the most, and what we've noticed is he's grown so quickly, he's a little bit larger than all his siblings. And he always made sure that he got the most to eat. So I agree, he's going to be quite a large male once he is all grown up. He's already quite strong, and I think within a couple of years, once he's grown to his full adult size, and he's going to start setting out and getting heavier, I think he's going to be a very large male. Oh, I can see the young lionesses moving over to the rest at this point, and it looks like they might just continue laying down here for now.
So we did leave those lions that we had here at Pride Lands eventually. We couldn't find them after the buffaloes, and they went to a hillside, and then we couldn't follow them, and I think they lay down there in that area. There's a little right now, lots of impalas in the area, so we'll try there again this afternoon. But I wanted to show you just exactly how far those lions did end up moving. So this is a map of Pride Lands, and we started off here at the camp, and we drove out all the way up, and we're heading towards Leopard Dam when we had tracks going in an easterly direction, and then we ended up finding them on Marshall Road here. They started coming all the way down to the dam where they drank. Then they went north all the way along towards this place called Liu Pan, which is in Afrikaans meaning lion pan, and then they stopped at Lion Koppie just over here. So in all, they probably walked about 3, 4, 5 kilometers this morning, from near Leopard Dam, where they probably killed something and ate last night, all the way to Lion Koppie. So that's really, really a lot of time for them to walk. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did end up stopping at that Koppie and will rest there, because now you can see I'm not wearing a fleece anymore. It's much warmer warmer, and I think those lions are going to rest there the rest of the day. I'm so glad to see Lagarths with them.
Try get that one in the front, to the left, to the left, to the left. We've just got these magnificent eland bulls. No luck on the goshawks yet. We actually had one flying in the far distance, so we're trying to relocate it. But we just popped into these, or bumped into these eland bulls here. But what I want you to show you is this massive one that David's on now, with that huge dewlap. So that big flap of skin on the neck is called a dewlap. D-E-W, lap. And a number of species out here actually have it. You also get things like mountain zebra that have a what appears to be a dewlap, but it's a little bit different to what these eland have got. But these dewlaps can actually be very important for fat storage going into the dry seasons. Very, very distinctive on the males. The females are a lot less so. But that dewlap is even blowing in the wind on this animal. How awesome is that to see? Gee, and there's another one that's going to come out behind it. Look at that. Yow! What magnificent animals those are. And it's one of the most, I'm just going to actually pull forward, just bear with us a second. I just want to pull forward, see if we can get a different angle here for you. David, just shout when you get a gap there, sir. Okay, wait, we're coming up now, a little bit further. Okay, wait, a little bit more. Almost. And you got them there, David? Yeah. So these are one of the most important animals in San culture, or what we call the Bushman culture. And it's probably the most frequently depicted animal in their rock art. So the petroglyphs that we have on Swalu, and in paintings, Bushman paintings in other areas. And they paint these animals with an incredible amount of detail that you can actually determine male, female. You see the dewlaps very, very clearly. And if you're interested, we'll actually do those rock art sites again, because I think it'll be worth spending quite a bit of time with the rock art. And their significance to the San. They were actually regarded as one of the rain animals. And we can get into more detail of that when we're up at one of the rock art sites with you.
This is absolutely incredible. So we are sitting with those lions in the tree. The one lioness lifted her nose and ran off into this direction, and they chased a leopard off of a warthog kill. Can you believe it? They went into that raised area to get an advantage point, to give them a better advantage of being able to look, smell and hear, and it worked out for them. I can't see whether it's an adult warthog or not, but I'm waiting for this big male to come in. I don't think he's realized that the females have moved off yet, and maybe he hasn't picked up on the scent of this warthog. Now maybe what happened is when the leopard caught the warthog, and the warthog would have been squealing, maybe the lioness heard that, and that's why she darted out of the tree. That is next level. Oh my word, that is amazing. I'm trying to see whether it's a male or female leopard. It's a little bit tough to tell. The grass is quite long. It looks like a male. You can see still quite a bit of blood on his chin. So he must have just started to maybe feed on it. So if there's blood on his chin, that means that he didn't kill it and they didn't hear the squealing. We would have heard the squealing as well, I think. And so maybe just the wind changed direction. The female could hear, the female could smell the scent of the warthog, fact that he's got blood on his chin would let us know that he was feeding. That is incredible. I mean, we are probably 200-300 meters away from where this warthog is, so they could smell a fresh carcass. You would expect them to be able to easily smell an old rotten carcass from this distance, but a fresh carcass, yes, okay, the wind is quite strong. And it's amazing that this leopard hasn't moved off. And it is quite typical for males that they'll often hang close by to lions. They have the confidence that they could get away if they need to. And once these lions are busy feeding on, or finish feeding on the carcass, and they move off, he'll come back and get the remains. That growling that you can hear is the growling from the cubs. Oh, Patty, yeah. I think, with humans we enjoy watching other people eat our food because we're providing it for everyone. But this male leopard most certainly hasn't provided this kill for these warthogs. This warthog for these lions. And he's disappeared. I'm not sure where he's gone to. He might have just lain down. And so you'll see the female's busy glancing around. She knows that, here comes the male from behind. This could get very interesting. Oh my word. So she's probably heard, there we go, they've seen the male. He's actually approaching very respectfully. I think he might know, wow, he's lying down. That I cannot believe. I've never before seen a male submit to females on a kill, even with cubs. On almost every other occasion I've seen males coming in and chasing the females and the cubs off of the kill. He's obviously quite scared of this older female that I did mention earlier. She is renowned for being grumpy. This blows my mind. I mean, not only were they able to steal this kill from a leopard, but the fact that the male has completely submitted to these two females and their cubs this is the one thing I love about nature, is that you can read so many books and all the books will tell you how males will completely dominate the pride over kills, and this is a great example of how the books aren't always correct. Well everyone, what a fantastic way to end off a safari in the African wilderness. I trust that you've enjoyed this morning with myself and all the colleagues. I think I'm going to sit here and enjoy what might just happen. And this afternoon I'll be sure to give you some feedback of what happens with the leopard or the male lion. What a way. Have a good day everyone.